nothing but the truth.
Zero wave election.
Zero wave.
Zero wave election because it is neither here nor there.
Nitish Kumar of the JDU is going to be the weak link in the entire process, or can the combination of the two actually get them the 39 out of 40 seats that the NDA won last time, with BJP winning big as well as the JDU?
Well, it's truth. It's nothing but the truth, and it's the truth which is across all states, Raj. BJP's problem is their alliance partners.
With voting for 284 seats done, we have crossed the halfway mark in terms of election 2024. So, is the BJP cruising to a third consecutive majority? Is it on its way to win a massive 370 seats that the BJP has targeted on its own, and of course 400 seats for the NDA? Will Prime Minister Narendra Modi make history, or like another BJP Prime Minister, A.B. Vajpayee, suffer a shock defeat which Mr. Vajpayee did in 2004? So are we in for a big surprise, and can the India alliance pull off a major upset? Hello, I'm Raj Chengappa of India Today, and in this episode of Nothing But the Truth, we will see if we can answer all these key questions for election 2024. To help us analyze the situation, I'm delighted to welcome to the show reputed psephologist Yashwant Deshmukh, founder of Sea Voter, who does India Today's biannual Mood of the Nation poll. So Yashwant, welcome to Nothing But the Truth.
Thank you, Raj. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Now, Yashwant, as I said, we are more than halfway through election 2024, and let's start looking at some of the key issues that are dominating the discourse. What, in your opinion, are some of the major factors influencing this election?
Well, of course, the biggest factor is Prime Minister Modi and his popularity or unpopularity, whichever way you look at, because he has been a kind of a figure who has polarized India in political terms like no other leader after Indira Ji actually did. So obviously, this election is primarily about re-electing or not letting him to be re-elected. That's where the political polarization is, and largely speaking, from the issue perspective, yes, we have been tracking in the MOTN, and the other day I was just looking into an email sent by one of a very keen reader of India Today, Raj, and the gentleman had the he went out of the way. He actually sent me a copy of India Today, marking with the notes of your editorial and everything. And he said that, if you look into the MOTN pointers, data pointers, these 7 pointers, then you feel like almost like this government is not going to come back. The economic distress and the issues and blah, 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 blah. And then he also pointed out that, but when I understand these pointers, the vacuum of the opposition leadership, the optimism and other things, then I can understand, I can relate exactly why this is not looking like an anti-incumbent wave of sort of 2013, if the indicators, economic indicators are so bad. So, yeah, I mean, when we do data, we give the data as good, bad and ugly. People, a lot of us happen to do a glass half full or glass half empty kind of analysis. And then there is a middle of the line path. We are happy to do that with India Today. That our job is to give the data points of issues and everything. But not every issue is an electoral issue, Raj. That's what we have been pointing out.
I think that, since you pointed out that reader that had sent you that copy of India Today, particularly the Mood of the Nation that you did in February, which is the one that just before we began the whole electoral process. Now there, as he rightly put it, unemployment emerged as one of the biggest concerns. And a lot of people also talked about price rise, though unemployment was the most serious concern. Both had somewhat equal, importance to the reader or viewer, whoever was watching it at that time. And if you see, the other issue that they were talking about was unhappiness in terms of their current economic situation. Most people said they seem pessimistic about it, were unhappy that things were not going. So how is that working in the elections? And given the fact that the opposition has made, the India Alliance has made that a big issue, is that gaining traction in some pockets, or that largely it still gets overwhelmed by Mr. Modi and other issues?
Well, Raj, that actually prompted me, that letter prompted me to pull out our MOTN survey of 26 January 2014. I pulled out that issue 10 years back and compared that, okay, let me see how the things are comparing. And then I realized that the top three issues at that point of time included price rise, included unemployment, just the way they are right now. But there was one additional issue, Raj, at that point of time, which was the issue of corruption,
Corruption, yes.
perceived corruption. Now, the thing is, when people have or they note down these problems of their day-to-day life, and then they also get flared up with the perceived corruption charges against the government, then somehow the mood happens to be like, we are in problem because these people are doing something hanky-panky wrong, Now, of course, misgovernance is not just about governance. Misgovernance is also about policy paralysis, wrong set of leaders in the ministries and wrong set of bureaucrats in the ministry, and so on and so forth. But for the common man on the street to pinpoint or link that, okay, I am having trouble because this person is corrupt. This is a pretty strong TNT dynamite combination, if you think that way, electorally speaking. What is not happening in this round or even in 2019, as we witnessed, is that there is no direct correlation. There is no perceived corruption, particularly against Mr. Modi individually. He has largely remained intact as a Teflon prime minister, where nothing really struck on him in that way. So I think that is something which has worked largely in his favor. You remember 2019 Chaukidar Chor Hai campaign, fell flat on that. This time, I was very keen to see what would be the electoral bond issue, because Supreme Court did that. Please remember, Chaukidar Chor Hai campaign was something which was Rahul Gandhi initiated. Electoral bond campaign thing was something which Supreme Court initiated. So that had a huge, what shall I say, circumstantial evidence to take that issue and take it forward in the campaign. But the opposition parties did not do that. And in the masses, when we conducted the snap polls, it did not have that kind of impact, because if 1 rupee went to the BJP, the 1 rupee 50% went to the opposition parties as well in the electoral bond. So public was kind of unable to see the connect that, okay, is only the BJP taking money? No, everybody got the money through electoral bond. Congress got money, so what's the big deal? In that way. So it did not fly. In other words, till the last week of the polling, the day we stopped our tracker because of election embargo, there was corruption or perceived corruption was nowhere, even in the top 10 issues of India. So that told me a kind of a thing that, okay, this particular thing is not going in that trajectory or in that direction.
Interesting. Now, if you take a look at the way the opposition fashioned its campaign, and apart from the guarantees that they brought out, particularly the Congress party, one of the things that seemed to have put the ruling party on the back foot was the need for this massive majority, and that the threat that the BJP and others were going to change the constitution. And therefore, you saw some backpedaling where even Prime Minister Modi asserted that there is no way the constitution will be changed. How much impact was that happening? That, people were saying 370, 400, why do you need it? There wasn't a rationale being given except Viksit Bharat, and there was a lot of fears being, stoked by the opposition, saying that they're either going to come with some very drastic changes that will impact your personal freedoms, or in terms of, caste considerations and others. How much was that, and, has that narrative changed in some ways the momentum of the BJP?
Well, I think, Raj, that the playbook of the BJP is pretty straightforward. The Hindutva, the Ram Temple, these things are pretty much there as the chapter 1. So whenever they have to start their campaign, they will start with the chapter 1. You can be rest assured of that, they might add 370, they might add CAA, they might add development, electricity, water, roads, so on and so forth. And different chapters will be played in the different phases, as and when, whichever the kind of combination is important, So you can be pretty sure that if the turnout dropped after the first round, I guess that kind of a little bit bogged them, because I'm sure that the nightmares of 2004, when the turnout in the urban areas dropped by 18%, they must have been refreshed all over again. Oh, turnout gir gaya, now what to do, kind of thing. So whenever the turnout drops, I think they will remember that kind of going back to the basic, that is chapter 1, 2, 3, because that is what enthuses their cadre, that is enthuses their core board. Within a low turnout election, they are critical, they are important, because they are the machinery to bring out voters to the booth.
Right.
So I think they went back to the chapter 1 and 2 just to hammer down those core critical ideological positionings again, to make people, and also that the fact that the issue of low turnout was also widely circulated and widely discussed at large. So there was some anxiety, some anxious movements for their support bases in the, for example, in the social media,
Right.
and that how the larger debate around that started fanning out. So I think they hammered down, they went back to that particular thing, and then once the first phase was over, they realized that, okay, the drop is about 4%. And by the second phase was in, it rolled down to 3%. By the third phase, it is 2%. So you can sense that, going back to those basic chapters actually kind of helped them a bit in their networking and their thing. And now they are feeling that they are okay on the turnout and they can go ahead with that.
Now, since you mentioned the turnout and the fact that the first phase had a 4% drop, the second phase, as you said, 3% and 2% we've seen in the third phase, where is this, so far, what would be the analysis? Is it impacting the, the BJP supporters, or is it really, it is the opposition guys who are not turning up and feeling dispirited? Where does this start minusing from?
Well, Raj, there are multiple arguments for that. Obviously, the foremost argument given by the opposition is that BJP people are, they are either overconfident or they are not enthusiastic enough and they are sitting at home. That's why the turnout is dropping. BJP people are saying that opposition people are disheartened that they are not going to win. That's why they are disheartened and they are sitting back at home. Third option is there is too much heat. It's a temperature, soaring temperature, which is putting them back, holding them back.
Right.
The answer is all of the above. When I say all of the above, there is a way. I don't think that option number 3 is the real option.
Right.
I think option number 3 becomes more of a bahana, more of a, in a way that, okay, what should I say now? Right. So there is a section of overconfident BJP supporter. There is a section of disheartened opposition supporter, and they just got an excuse of rising temperature. So some of them, they sat at home. Having said that, I have a different analytical take on the turnout factor. There is no, obviously, Raj, there is no, confirmed way of interpreting this thing that, okay, low turnout is anti-incumbent or high turnout is anti-incumbent. But based on my pre-poll trackers, what we analyzed about enthusiasm in different support groups in different states, what we realized that we are likely to see a drop of turnout where the contest is perceived as lopsided.
Okay. While
we are likely to see a good turnout in the states and the seats as well, where the contest is perceived to be a good one. Right. So a good contest increases the turnout. And that is not just state by state, but within the state, regions and within the region seat as well. Right. Say, for example, in Rajasthan, a contest which is perceived one-sided or lopsided, there are seats where the contest was good, Barmer, Jalur, that's where the turnout was above than the state average, Same is with UP. In Western UP, few seats where we see that there was a contest, the turnout actually was way ahead, way above the state average in UP. Right. But at the state level, I can see that turnout in West Bengal is very, very healthy. Mm-hmm. And we can vouch for it that each and every of those 42 seats are going to see a really, really good contest. You remember when last time we spoke, pointed out the states which are going to see a really good contest.
Correct.
One
You called it the mother of all battles, West Bengal.
mother of
Karnataka.
battles was West Bengal.
Right.
Second state, however, which was supposed to be a really key state, that is Maharashtra, the
Right.
turnout has dipped. And I would say that has more to do with the disheartening of voters across the spectrum. I
Right.
think the average Marathi voter is feeling cheated by each and every party. You see, every party in Maharashtra has disrespected the mandate that has been given to them in 2019 and subsequent assembly elections.
Right.
So, be it any party under the sun in Maratha, their voter is feeling cheated. And I think it's that sentiment at work that no matter whom we vote for, what is the guarantee that these people are gonna remain where they're supposed to remain?
Right.
And that disheartening has lowered the turnout, even though a low turnout will result a good keen contest, because now the contest in Maharashtra is all about the core cadre constituents. You know,
Right.
the parties are going to pull out they are scraping the barrel right now, what they have with them, in that way. And that will make the contest very keen in March.
And that's a very important state because it's the second largest state in terms of numbers, 48 seats it puts out. Last time the BJP won 41 out of those 48, and it's very critical for the NDA to win that state if it has to get the kind of majority it wants. But before we come to the individual states, we did discuss some of it. Just one point in terms, normally you would see a wave in an election which propels, if you're looking at a majority of 303, beyond that, there is a certain wave that is propelling that thing. Do you sense this time a wave? Is there, or is it just being fought seat by seat, state by state? Really no overarching wave that is there that you can sense?
Well, statistically speaking, this is a zero wave election.
Zero wave.
Zero wave election, because it is neither here nor there.
Right.
In that way. When you look into the turnout factor of 2009, which resulted in a pro-incumbent sentiment even after a dip in the turnout.
Right.
In that way. Now, 2014 was a huge increase in the turnout,
Correct.
which arguably was a wave election. Then 2019 also, Balakot and the Labharti Yojana and everything topped up the whatever it was. Now, if it was a wave too much into one direction, that top up should have been topped up further.
Right.
We are not witnessing. Or if it was a wave in the other way around, that top up should have pulled it down, not top down, but
Right.
actually dropped hugely. Now, that huge drop is not evident as well. Okay. So at the end of the day, when you sum up the three phases, you realize that overall a drop is between 2 to 3% approximately,
Right.
which is also varying across different states.
Right.
And different states where the turnout is dropping. See, remember, even Kerala turnout dropped by 7%.
That's right.
Here the BJP is absent. Right. It's a contest of Congress and the left, largely speaking. Turnout dropping in Tamil Nadu. Which in MOTN, with the states where we were perceiving it to be lopsided one-way traffic, even against the BJP, the turnout dropped. And the similar where the pro-BJP mandates were perceived in our, calculated in our MOTN, even those states the turnout dropped.
Right.
So, largely speaking, it is a zero-wave election. When you say zero-wave election, then some states, majority of the states are likely to be intact on what we were reading before the election. Some states, when we said that they are going to be a very, very decisive seed by seed battles, not just because of the parties, but also because of the candidates, we have to keep a really keen eye in that kind of a state, that kind of a thing, because there is not going to be a regional wave or a state wave, but a seed by seed calculation, which makes the life a bit difficult for analysts or the pollsters, I would say. But that's where we are.
And those seat by seats, we'll take it, of course, go later into it. But just to give the sense of it, one is, of course, clearly Maharashtra. The second would be West Bengal. The third would be Bihar. And which other state would you put where you again see a very keen tussle?
Yeah, Karnataka would be a keen tussle, I would say. Yeah, Karnataka would be a very keen tussle. Apart from that, the aberrations seats, if I may say so, there would be couple of seats in Rajasthan, couple of seats in Madhya Pradesh,
Right.
quite a handful seats in Uttar Pradesh, and maybe a seat or two even in Gujarat, which
Wow.
are like, even after the state level sweep, these individualistic seats are being contested quite strongly
Okay.
for different variety of reasons. Most of these strong contention is coming because of the candidate selection or candidate level, equations. Some of them are facing a triangular because of a rebel candidate. Some of them because some candidate said something stupid, which now is making them kind of unsure whether my party is good enough to pull me out of from the mess that I put.
We saw that happen in Gujarat, I think, Purushottam
Exactly.
Rupala and the Kshatriya issue that happened,
Exactly.
and the impact of that.
Exactly.
By the way, what's the impact of that? What is your sense of what has happened over
I
there?
think it will have a limited impact for multiple reasons. I mean, when I say limited impact, not in terms of winning or losing, but limited impact in terms of Kshatriya or Rajput voters moving in that direction. I read some analysis that, okay, this is going to impact even in Rajasthan,
Right.
even in Western UP, so on and so forth. I doubt. Reason being, there are, when you look into these vote banks, which have been traditionally voting for a certain party, generally they are they are strongly cling to that side. Even if they are upset, they are unlikely to swing to the other side. They are more likely to sit at home when they are upset.
Right.
Number two, these vote banks, if you remember, for example, the biggest vote bank issue we saw during the Patidar Andolan.
Right.
In Gujarat. No group leadership likes to be irrelevant of sorts.
Right. So they generally, even if they don't like, may not turn out to vote, but they're not going to vote against and give the vote to someone else. And that is your reading in Gujarat, which means 26 seats, if I'm not mistaken. Even though there is pockets of resistance, they could still hold that bastion. I mean, the BJP will hold that bastion as is. Am I right? That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So, best way to look into the possibility of having the impact or not, or to put these stories into test, whatever I said, would be to see what kind of margin on Mr. Rupala's seat we are witnessing.
Right.
If there is a kind of upset that he manages to lose the seat, then obviously there is something which went beyond the BJP's repair.
But what's your gut feeling so far in Gujarat? They are, getting the numbers that they wanted, 26 out of 26?
I think the gut feeling is that more or less they would be largely in that line, but few pockets would be, few seats, there is going to be a good contest on, Say, for example, even in the north, Sabarkantha, Banaskantha, Anand, even in the south, apart from your typical Rajkot and like that, which have been counted in Porbandar, the contest will be there. But again, we have to see when you say a contest, it's like what kind of margins we are talking about.
Right.
BJP has been winning by such huge margins that even certain seats, if the margins come down strikingly and there is a suspense till the last round, who will win, I would consider that as an opposition success. So aberration seats are there. Aberration seats.
Would you say that was true of Rajasthan also, where we hear that there's going to be a shake?
Rajasthan also, there are seats like, Barmer, Jalore is there, a couple of more, where these aberration contests are there, and they will on the counting day keep on swinging. Probably giving some.
And there again, if you recall, BJP, I think that Rajasthan has 25 seats. It's swept it last time without any.
And these seats witnessed a better turnout. That's the funny part of it, as I mentioned to you. If within Rajasthan, within Gujarat, there is a contest on the seats, there is a better turnout.
Okay, and if we move to Madhya Pradesh, which is another bastion of the BJP, 29 seats there, 28 they had won last time. Again, is the BJP holding its fort there?
Most likely the fourth in that way, but again, looking at the turnout, whatever I am saying is looking at the turnout figures. I am privy to the exit poll, but I am not going to indulge in obviously for any that kind of mapping. I am looking at from the turnout aspect. Even in Madhya Pradesh, wherever in couple of seats the contest was supposed or perceived to be really nice, there the turnout has been quite nice. Some of the things which have not gone in good taste, like for example, what happened in Surat, what happened in Indore,
Correct. Where
that matter.
forfeited, I mean, virtually they forfeited the fight.
Forfeited, or for that matter, even in Khajuraho, for God's sake, even Congress left that seat to SP, Samajwadi Party, I mean, I know SP has been a marginal player, but not at the Lok Sabha level. And then his papers were found incomplete. And now they are at the end of the day supporting All India Forward Bloc candidate in Madhya Pradesh. I mean, AIFB in Madhya Pradesh.
I mean, these are Lok Sabha elections and no party should be casual about what it's doing in any of these things.
And even though I tweeted and I said this thing, Raj, that, it's undemocratic, not in a right way. It's not good for democracy. But I see a point because I got into a debate, a couple of debates with where the BJP spokesperson and sympathizers got into a debate with me. And at the end of the day, I had to buy one point from them that, if the Congress is ill-prepared or the opposition is ill-prepared for these kind of things, as we say in Sanskrit, Samadama Dandabhed, that the BJP applies on each and every seat, well, you cannot blame them squarely.
Yeah.
We know for sure that each candidate files multiple sets. Now, in Surat, the 2 sets which were filed had the same set number of 3 proposers. And I had to think over it, Raj. Last Lok Sabha election, Congress polled more than 2 lakh votes in Surat parliamentary seat.
They're going to lose that. Yeah.
They could not figure out 3 more proposers who were loyal to Congress. and there was no shadow candidate.
No, I think those are very good points you're making. I just want to move quickly to a couple of other issues that are there. One, we have begun to see a lot, in terms of this whole reservation issue, there are 2 kinds of issues that have happened. The BJP seems to have moved this whole reservation debate into a Muslim reservation thing and made it communal in its outlook. The India Alliance seems desperately to say, call it the redistribution of wealth. Where is this battle now moving? Who do you think is scoring points on it? And is it having an impact on the elections?
Well, I think the Kamandal and Mandal way of looking at the electorate has been a principal driver largely. BJP likes to look at the umbrella Hindutva where they can take everything along. Obviously, the opposition likes to keep it in a different way where the different caste groups can be stirred into a reservation debate of sort. And I think opposition was quite smart in kind of pulling out the changing the constitution point into a reservation point. That was pretty smart thing to do from the opposition. Because I read so many reports in the last 1 month that stirred quite a significant masses in many places. People were, particularly the Dalits and Adivasis, were questioning if the constitution is going to be changed with the reservation go. So obviously there was the damage control from the BJP. And what better damage control than taking it from the caste to the religion? Because they twisted, again, just the way opposition was brilliant, I think BJP was equally brilliant as well in countering it that, okay, if your reservation is brought down, it will be given to the Muslims. Because there is a cap of 50% for the reservation quota. Now, these are the 2 narratives which are at play. How much it is going to damage, largely it will be known into when we get the exit poll numbers, whether the perceived damage is there among the Dalit and the Adivasi votes, or the counter by the BJP for an umbrella Hindutva policy worked in their favor, largely. However, I think looking at the numbers and the turnout figures, by and large, there has been no deviation. Like you remember when we were discussing the turnout figures earlier, Raj, I mentioned that in 2004, there was almost 18% huge drop of turnout in metropolitan areas, which cost the BJP very, very heavily, in 2004. This time around, I cannot see in the data any difference in demographic difference in the turnout numbers. So, the drop in urban areas was as good or bad as the drop in rural areas.
Interesting.
Or drop in the tribal areas was as good or bad in the non-tribal areas. Or drop in the reserved seats for scheduled castes are as good or bad in the non-reserved seats. So the drop in the turnout thing has been largely secular, universal of sort, barring the seats which were like having a good local contest on.
So that is your logic to say they should not likely to be surprises. What was there earlier, the sentiment would continue like what we saw in the Mood of the Nation poll. Am I right?
That's from the turnout. That's because even in the seats, when we looked into the seats which are kind of aberration seats, as I call them, aberration seats are everywhere, right? I mean, aberration seats for BJP in Tamil Nadu, aberration seats for BJP in Kerala are as good as the aberration seats for Congress in Rajasthan and Gujarat.
And your argument is that, from what I could gather, is that supposing, for instance, the BJP had 303 seats, you, in fact, in the India Today Mood of the Nation predicted that they're likely to get 303 seats in February. That's, several months earlier. Now, the point here is that for the BJP to be really in trouble, it has to lose about 50 seats of its own tally to drop it from that 303 to bring it down to 350. You are saying that the aberrations so far do not indicate, because they could win here and lose some there, and therefore equalize in terms of the numbers that they are losing, winning or losing, and still stay at above the majority mark. Is that the general trend of the argument?
I think there is no surprises as far as the turnout analysis is concerned.
Okay.
I could sense that these trends, that if the contest is good, turnout is good. If the contest is perceived as lopsided, the turnout is getting dropped. And there is no major deviation of different demographic turnout groups or urban, rural, reserved seats for tribal versus non-reserved seats, reserved seats for the scheduled caste versus non-reserved seats. I do not see. Even so much so that the data that has been released so far, there is not even much of a deviation or much of a contrast between the male and female turnout either.
Right.
Okay, females kind of really dropped big time in turnout, so the Labharti thing is not working. But the females have been equal in that way, in their turnout. So Labharti or not Labharti, the thing is that big number of state governments have also come up with their own equally strong Labharti schemes.
Right.
We have latest in Karnataka, the bus scheme, and to be honest, even Mamata Banerjee or Stalin or every opposition chief minister has come up with some or the other signature Labharti scheme to counter the Labharti schemes of the center. Right. So it remains to be seen what kind of turnout, goes in which direction. Right. But the turnout is playing a good role in the seats which are battleground states. That's what I will still maintain.
They are better? Sorry, I didn't catch the word.
Battleground states.
Okay. Battleground states.
Battleground states, which we counted primarily the 4 states to start with. That is West Bengal, Maharashtra, Bihar, and Karnataka. These 4 I still consider as the battleground states.
Now let's come to Karnataka. Before I do that, I just wanted one more point on this Mangal Sutra versus the redistribution of wealth. How much of an impact has that happened? Because Rahul Gandhi is very strong when he says that we're going to do an X-ray of how wealth is, who has the wealth in the country, who has the kind of clout in this, and then we'll decide what to do with it. That the BJP has moved and said, they're going to pull out. The Prime Minister particularly had talked of the Mangal Sutra. How much impact is that having, or has that been neutralized by the opposition by counter-arguments?
Well, I think the 2004 drop of the turnout problem of the BJP had a lot to do with the drop of the turnout, particularly in the upper caste votes or well-to-do voters, So I think that narrative campaign was to ensure from their side that, okay, that middle class, upper middle class, good-to-do voter, upper caste voters, they do not stay at home. That's what they are targeting. I think what Rahul Gandhi and Congress has been trying to, on the debate of redistribution of wealth, somehow personally speaking, that is way off the mark, Raj, because of a simple economic reasons. What that template is coming from the India of 60s and 70s of socialism era. What we are forgetting that post 90s, when we opened up the economy, India had only about 3% middle class. Today we have ballooned it to 35%. And there are 50 shades in that middle class. And that middle class is an aspirational middle class. So on the lowest possible ladder of the middle class, they want to climb the ladder up. And those who are below the poverty line, they want to be ahead of the poverty line, get into the middle class, and so on and so forth. So this India may be a state which is largely seen to drive electoral politics by Labharti Yojana, which is pretty socialist in their definition. But let's not forget that India also is a state of a free capital, free enterprise, and the nature of entrepreneurship. So, yes, I understand for a big bottom of the pyramid, the sarkari naukri, a good safe job, still drives home the point. But we have also seen that the micro entrepreneurship has come up maximum in the states which were considered the Bimaru states. So it was what I understand from those numbers is that it was not by a value-driven system that they were socialist of nature. It was the situational thing for that had driven to be on dependent on the government largesse, government schemes for the food, the ration, the everything in between. But given a chance of free economy, given a chance an equal playing field of sort, given a chance where seed capital can be provided, I think the enterprise in the lower class, in the lower middle class, I'm talking about economic classes here, which of course has a maximum number of the reserved category classes and also the minorities, no two opinion about that. They would very much love to climb the ladders.
So you are, to sum up what you're saying is that your personal feeling is that the redistribution issue and in terms of the redistribution of wealth is not something that will immediately catch the electorate because India has moved away from the 60s and 70s to a more sort of entrepreneurial India. And the middle class gets impacted by such things. Am I right? That's essentially your course of your argument.
There is one question you remember that we asked in our tracker about the optimism. Of course, there is a question in the last 6 months, how your life, the next 6 months, where you be. When in the high optimism scale, we do the demographic analysis, we realize that it's the bottom of the pyramid, which against all odds is the highly optimistic lot.
Correct. Yes.
So one way of looking at it, they have nothing to lose. Their back is on the wall. What else they can? But then also there is a sentiment that they are optimists because they are also the go-getters. They are looking for the opportunities. Now that opportunity somehow is not the opportunity of wealth distribution. It's an opportunity of wealth creation.
Right.
I think this debate of wealth creation and wealth distribution, this is where opposition is likely to get it wrong. It is not the India of the 70s and 80s. It is India of the 90s and the 21st century, where a huge bulk of the pyramid is more interested in wealth creation rather than the wealth distribution.
Fair enough. That's a good point you're making. And of course, the elections will decide whether redistribution or creation is going to be the big thing. Let's also not forget that there has been a lot of unhappiness in terms of the job creation part. And that could be a counter to the fact that redistribution, people are also saying, what about creation of jobs and why can't we get the jobs we want? But that's, we've got only about 8 minutes or less than that. Let me just quickly come to some of the key issues that are there. Let's start with the swing states. West Bengal, where does it stand? Which is the big issue over there? And let's not forget the the entire polarization game that has happened, as we have seen with the BJP continuing to emphasize on this to counter the opposition. How much of that impact with the CAA will have on the West Bengal electorate?
Well, last assembly election in West Bengal had a complete bipolarization of sort happening, that is between the TMC and the BJP. And it had a saturation, Muslim polarization for the TMC. Now, in this election, what remains to be seen, whether at the national level, the Congress of the left candidate climbed back, whether they damaged the TMC in terms of getting the minority votes, or they damage the BJP in terms of getting the anti-TMC votes, split. So they are double-edged swords. The candidacy of Left Congress Alliance is a sort of double-edged. As we have seen in other split verdicts across other states, there is a significant voter which swings between BJP and the opposition based on the assembly and the Lok Sabha seat. So not all TMC voters are anti-Modi, not all BJP voters are anti-Mamta. Let's be very clear about it. But there is one clear thing which makes Mamta as into advantageous position because of the demographics. That we know for sure that minorities are not really too excited about the BJP historically, and there was little evidence in our MOT and trackers to see otherwise, So I have doubt that minority votes is not likely to be split much.
So that gives us clearly a 25% starting lead on this one.
Exactly. Is the advantage to Mamta Banerjee on that account because in UP, I am from UP, I have seen in UP, Bihar, eastern side and other states as well. The minorities when there was a genuine triangular contest, they used to vote for the best possible candidate who could defeat the BJP candidate.
Right.
So I don't think minorities in Bengal are thinking that left and the Congress can actually defeat the BJP. But on the individual seats, there could be aberrations where they feel that, okay, so-and-so Congress candidate or so-and-so left candidate might be in a better position of sort to defeat the BJP. But there are aberrations. If I count those seats, I will be running out of, his fingers,
No, but if you recall in West Bengal last time, the BJP surprised the TMC, got 18 seats out of the 42, TMC got 22. The vote percentage was only 3% vote difference. TMC was 43%, BJP was 40%. Do you see still a close contest? Will BJP gain, or it will be even Stevens as it happened in 2019, the same sort of result you find could happen again here?
No, it will be a close contest, but there would be a difference in the quality of the contest. When I say quality, in terms of demographic composition, looking at the turnout figures and the pre-poll numbers and trackers that we were observing, there is one very unique thing that is happening in West Bengal. West Bengal, BJP's entry into West Bengal was absolutely opposite of BJP's entries in any other state of India.
Right.
BJP in every other state entered urban and then spread to rural.
Right.
In Bengal, it was just the other way around. They entered the rural and now they are entering the urban. So that way, it's a very unique proposition that we have to be very, very careful in reading West Bengal this time. Because on one way, this will be evidently out how much they have been successful into entering the Bhadraru of West Bengal, as we call it. On the other hand, the bipolarization during the assembly election provided Mamta Banerjee a chance to get back into the hold of rural Bengal and, making it further bipolar and say that, okay, left and the Congress are useless, they cannot defeat the BJP, so stick with me. So it's like a two-way process where Mamta is likely to kind of try to get a hold of rural Bengal again in that way, and BJP understanding that they are kind of weirdly placed in Bengal, that the Bhadralok is not voting for them. The entire India, the urban class is there, pocket borrow, and in Bengal they are just unable to enter urban entry in West Bengal. So there would be a lot of movement of that sort.
So now there we can expect some surprises that is happening. Balance at the moment seems even in that sense that the gains and losses would kind of stay somewhat the same.
Yeah, there would be surprises in some rural pockets, some urban pockets, both ways. And that would kind of open up the Bengal for the next election, I would say, on 4th of... it's funny to see that actually your two major battleground states, I am more interested on 4th of June for their new baselines for the next assembly election. rather than what happened actually in terms of
I would gather Maharashtra as the other state that you're
Exactly.
mentioning. But let's come to
Exactly.
Bihar. Very quickly, there we seem to be having a meltdown of the, JDU versus, if you take the RJD, the BJP seems to be holding. Is this a correct assessment where Nitish Kumar of the JDU is going to be the weak link in the entire process, or can the combination of the two actually get them the 39 out of 40 seats that the NDA won last time, with BJP winning big as well as the JDU?
Well, it's truth. It's nothing but the truth, and it's a truth which is across all states, Raj. BJP's problem is their alliance partners. I wonder if the BJP would have asked Nitish and everybody to have contested on their symbol, it would have been a different game altogether. You remember Jayalalitha did that in order to win Tamil Nadu again. Very surprise mandate for her, which we predicted correctly, and that had a lot to do with her symbol thing that thou shall contest only on my symbol. You may be alliance partner, but symbol will be mine. I think BJP would have done well if they would have made their alliance partner understand this particular game. That the symbol of the BJP is much more attractive than your symbol as far as the Lok Sabha elections are concerned. So, like in Maharashtra, I believe that even after the drop of the turnout and everything, BJP might get benefited out of the fact that they are contesting more seats.
They are contesting 28 this time rather than 25.
But not in Bihar. Bihar, they are contesting the same number.
Same number, yes.
Last time. So yes, obviously that will open up the doors of opportunity for Tejasvi Yadav particularly. The weakest link for the BJP is the alliance partner. The weakest link for the opposition is Congress. So, these are the two central versus regional kind of thing. The strongest links of the opposition are their regional leaders and their regional parties. So keep a close eye, very close eye on the seats where it is RJD versus JDU. That is where, opposition will smell a window of opportunity to, go do something about it.
And finally, when you come to Karnataka, my home state, which you also said is a key battleground state, we know that the Congress won, defeating the BJP in the assembly elections last year. Now, has this, and of course, let's not forget that the BJP swept 25 of the 28 seats in 2019, and one seat was added subsequently when an independent joined the BJP. Here they have an alliance with the JDS. There has been a huge issue recently that has happened with, of course, this happened post the problem of Prajwal Revana, and the entire, allegations of sex scandal and everything else there. What do you think, is that going to have a major impact, one? Or where does Karnataka stand? Would there be some surprises over there?
Well, there would be surprises and there would be some really keen contests, no doubt about that, particularly keeping in mind that DK Shivkumar's belt overlaps with the Devagowda belt.
Right.
So it's a contest of DK Shivkumar versus Devagowda family at large. And it has not gone unnoticed that the entire controversy was erupted only after that phase of election was over.
Correct.
Because as ironical as it may sound, if the Congress would have propped up this issue when the Liga belt was going to the poll, it might have been even used by JDS as a Congress attempt to malign the Liga leadership. So that's why they pulled it off only after the first phase was over. Now, the rest of the phase, whether it is going to impact or not, that remains to be seen. However, knowing Karnataka, you know it better. JDS as an equal opportunity offender of sort. They have done business with the Congress, they have done business with the BJP, they have gone their own way in every possible way. So I don't think that average Karnataka counts JDS or JDS wrongdoings as a BJP's wrongdoing.
Right.
That is what my conventional understanding would tell me. Yes, the issue is working beyond Karnataka. On the issue of female security, BJP is having some anxious moments. Wherever these things are raised, obviously it is difficult for them to to kind of defend. They are not defending in any case. I mean, that's another thing. But yes, Karnataka is very interesting from the perspective of DK Shivakumar areas and non-DK Shivakumar areas. When we see the results, we have to keep in mind that it's an internal conflict within Congress as well. Siddaramaiah is his last inning as the CM, as he says, but DK Shivakumar wants that innings to be over tomorrow so that he can become the chief minister. So there would be a lot of intra-party rivalry at play.
And also in the BJP, despite the fact that they brought Yadurappa's son as the BJP president, there's a lot of resentment among the Lingayats. So the BJP is not assured of that vote. On this side, you have this conflict.
That's why.
It makes it very...
Exactly. That's why it is a battleground state, because it is not just Congress versus the BJP. Is the internal rivalry within the BJP versus internal rivalry of the Congress, and on the third aspect, the controversy surrounding JDS and everything that has to do with that. So that has made this entire thing as a battleground state to start with. Otherwise, think of it, when the Congress swept Karnataka, it should have been talked about taking Karnataka just the way they have taken the assembly election. You know, like for example in Telangana, when they won Telangana, largely there is a consensus among all the pollsters and analysts and editors and journalists and reporters that Congress is favorable in Telangana. They are having an upper hand. But same was not true about Karnataka when we discussed Karnataka right after Karnataka victory of Congress. So from that line, Karnataka becoming a battleground state, that itself is a very interesting phenomena and an interesting thing to watch out, even in the exit poll and on the day of the counting.
And one quick thing, because we have a huge contest happening in Andhra Pradesh. You have the Jagan Reddy of YSRCP wanting to retain the state. There's a simultaneous assembly election happening, as well as the fact that he has to contest the 25 seats. Last time he'd won, I think, 22 out of the 25. I think TDP got 3. And this time TDP is allied with the BJP as well as the Pawan Kalyan's party, JSP. Where does that, in some senses, where does it, is it on a knife edge, or is it going to be a sweep as you see it for Jagan?
Going by what we have been capturing for MOTN India Today data in the last 1.5 years, you know, the anti-incumbency was growing slow and steady. And TDP last year itself had become a clear contender at par with Jagan. The moment Pawan Kalyan joined hands, they were in a very good position to not just contest but beat in that way. I think that the BJP questioning for TDP had less to do with the vote share and more to do with the fact that there was a huge pro-Modi sentiment for the prime ministerial positioning, which BJP was nowhere in a position to take advantage of. So as far as, Modi versus Rahul thing was concerned, Modi had a 1:2 advantage over Rahul Gandhi in Andhra Pradesh in public perception. I think what TDP wanted to do along with the BJP was to take advantage of that perception, that in the parliamentary election we are aligned with the BJP, so we are getting, they had to do this because in the last 5 years, Jagan Mohan Reddy went out of the way to project he was pro-Modi, he was on the right side of the Modi, they had even ensured BJP to send a Raj Sabha member, even without having any MLA in the house. That was really odd and funny. So I think to benefit from that pro-Modi sentiment at the central level, I think that's how TDP positioned itself. And in the last poll that we did for India Today, there was a very clear-cut advantage of sort in the parliamentary elections for TDP alliance, because by that time they got into alliance with the NDA, with the BJP. One important and interesting thing to observe in Andhra Pradesh, that their Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha have been happening together, and unlike Odisha, unlike many other states where we have seen split vote of sort, Andhra Pradesh somehow never gave a split vote.
So Jagan Reddy won, he won both the Lok Sabha as well as the state. That's
Yeah,
what you're
when
saying.
TDP won, he won both the states. And even in undivided Andhra, you remember when Y.S. Rajshekar Reddy won for the Congress
That's
in
right.
2004 and 9, he won both the states, hand the center, hands down. So, looking at the Lok Sabha trackers that we did before the elections actually started, if there was an advantage TDP NDA for at the Lok Sabha level, I would presume that it will help them in the assembly seats as well,
Right.
assembly election.
Okay, finally, an overall assessment. We've gone through the states. Where does it stand? Is this still the Modi election, or are we seeing, can we interpret the signs of what Mr. Modi is saying in terms of the range of issues he's raising, including the Muslim issue, as signs of a certain uncertainty, or are we seeing a cruise control and things are going the way the BJP wanted? Where would you put that? And where would you see halfway through, is the BJP sure enough of is it on track to winning the target of, say, at least 300 seats, or at least crossing the majority, maybe not 370?
Well, this remains a Modi election from the parameter that he is the issue,
Right.
in this election. Whether or not it is a zero-wave election. In a zero-wave election, even then, the election is about Mr. Modi, largely speaking. So he remains the most important issue of this election. Where he is getting troubled from is the newly discovered formula, which, by the way, for the last 10 years, everybody has been telling the opposition leaders that contest the Lok Sabha election and don't make it about Modi. But they refuse to hear to all their, well-wishers. But they have newly discovered that localization of the election is something which will bother BJP and bother Modi. And wherever they have localized the election, those elections or the seats or regions have become really contest worthy. So I guess that this is something which opposition has discovered right. But my only wonder is whether they have discovered it too late. Because for almost 4.5 years, their entire game and entire campaign has been anti-Modi. They centralized the election. Now, this decentralization in the last 6 months, whether it was too late or whether it was right to create some troubles for Mr. Modi or BJP or NDA, that remains to be seen. Whatever the contest you are watching right now across India, Raj, they are courtesy decentralization. Wherever that contest would be about the local leaders, local identities, local issues, BJP will find it tough. Whenever the contest would be more on the central leaders, central issues, central management or narratives, there the BJP will come out strongly, regardless of there any wave or not happening on the ground. And also on the turnout factor, one last thing which I want to say, that 4 to 3 to 2 is the movement that we have seen in the last 3 waves. Something tells me that at the end of the day, when all the entire election is over, I don't see turnout deviating too much beyond 3% at all India level. Whether or not that will be too big an issue or bigger factor to impact the final results, that remains to be seen. But largely, even in the 4th round, 5th, 6th, 7th, you will fall. You please look at the turnout next time from the theory which I have given. Sure. That if it is a lopsided contest, the turnout will be not very enthusiastic. And if it is a good contest, within the state, even at the seat level, it is a good contest, the turnout will be heavy.
I actually wanted, you gave 303, the figure for the India Today Mood of the Nation poll. Are you still maintaining, now halfway done, that the BJP is in sight of that? Though the BJP is pitched at 370, but at least the 303. Are you sticking your neck out and saying?
No, Raj, I would have loved to answer that question. But I being privy to the data of exit poll, it would be not the right thing to answer that question.
So you answered it in a different way. You're saying there are no surprises as yet. You are not surprised except for aberrations.
I don't see much of a surprise in the turnout factor when I start looking at the data from my theory.
And the aberrations don't add up to the kind of shock that could have
No,
happened to the
aberrations
BJP.
don't add up to that kind of a shock because, as I mentioned, the aberrations of Congress in Gujarat are as good as aberrations for BJP in Kerala and Tamil Nadu.
So they sort of neutralize each other. But I know, Yashwant, you are bound by your code of conduct with the Election Commission of India. We don't want to violate that. But thank you so much. You've really been insightful across, been patient with us on this one. Thank you for your insights, and look forward to having you on our show the next time as well.
Thank you, Raj. Always a pleasure. I end up learning so much from your questions as well because they are so insightful that I have to think what I have to answer in that way. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you all for listening to this, watching this episode of Nothing But the Truth. I look forward to having you with me next week when we do it. Thank you very much. Nothing But the Truth.